The first activity performed is walking, which involves the feature in line. Looking closer, the client is keeping her hip, knee, and foot facing towards the direction she is moving, ultimately keeping her leg in line with each step she takes. The second activity performed is picking something up. The key feature is flexion and extension through the hinge pattern. The client is maintaining a neutral spine through a normal low back curve by hinging from the hips to lower her body to pick up the book. Keeping that same normal low back curve, she extends from her hips to bring herself back to a standing position. The third activity performed is opening a door. The key feature of this activity is a twist, and we see this through the pull pattern. As the client reaches to open the door, she pulls on the door and twists to open. She maintains her shoulder and hip alignment through two imaginary parallel lines that cannot bend to touch to achieve the twist pattern. The fourth activity is putting something on a shelf. The key feature is down and the pattern is push. The client is keeping her shoulders away from her ears and pushing forwards to place the object on a shelf.
Our first exercise is the reverse lunge. Starting with your feet shoulder width apart, reach back with one leg while bending in the other, as seen here. As your foot makes contact with the ground, in a controlled manner, lower yourself into the bottom position. Both knees bent at 90 degrees such that your front thigh is parallel with the floor. It is important to note you should keep your knee in line with your hip and ankle as you lower yourself, where all three joints would make a straight line. Pause for half a second before pushing through the middle of your front foot and lifting off your back foot. While lifting yourself again, ensure the knee is in line with the hip and ankle. Stand tall to finish. The second exercise is a good morning. Start with your feet shoulder width apart and your arms across your chest. Initiate the movement by pushing your butt back and bending at your hip. While doing so, be mindful to keep a flat back, straight like a board. Lower yourself into the bottom position, a 90-degree bend at the hip, torso parallel with the floor, keeping the back flat and trunk stiff. Pause for a second. Begin to stand up by pushing forward through your hips and lifting your straight torso. Once standing tall again, the movement is now complete. The third exercise is plank up-downs. Start in a high plank position. Lower yourself to one forearm, so that one arm has a hand in contact with the floor and the other its forearm. Under control, lift the other hand off the ground and lower to both forearms. While lowering one side at a time, move the hips and shoulders together to prevent twisting through the torso. At this point, you should be on both forearms. During the final phase, you will lift the arm you started with off the ground, placing your hand back in contact with the ground. To finish, lift the second forearm and return to high plank position. The final exercise is a banded overhead press. To start, have your hands at shoulder level, being shoulder width apart with a band in hand. Next, push the band away from your body overhead, extending through your elbows. At this top position, your arms will be completely over your head, parallel and at a 180-degree angle relative to your torso, with elbows fully extended. To finish the movement, lower your arms by bending through your elbows and bring your hands in front of your body in a controlled manner until the band is once again at shoulder height.
Reverse lunges influence your clients' walking as both share the key movement feature in line. Developing the correct way to keep their knee in line with their hip and foot transfers to a better lunging pattern, thus reducing the likelihood of the knee coming out of line medially or laterally when walking. Good mornings influence how our client picks something up as their key movement feature is flexion and extension. Being able to correctly flex and extend the trunk with a neutral spine and hips parallel to shoulders leads to better hinging, thus proper form is transferred when picking a binder up. Plank up-downs influence how our client opens a door as our key movement feature is twisting. Developing a neutral spine while having shoulders and hips aligned and moving in the same direction allows for good trunk rotation, which transfers as you open a door. Banded overhead presses influence how our client pushes something into a cupboard as their key movement feature is down. Being able to keep the shoulders away from the ears allows for better pushing, which is then transferred when pushing the object into the cupboard.